we're good to go.
Good to go. Very good. Okay, the time being 4:30, I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Tom so moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mike seconds. Any changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, next discussion on downtown lighting. Jay, come on up.
I wanted to speak to you guys a little bit. I got you some information on some lighting.
Hey, Jake, can you come up to the microphone
Yeah, why
otherwise?
don't you coming up?
Sorry.
I wanted to make you guys aware of some of the information we had in the grant and then get a little bit of a direction in which way you guys wanted to go with the downtown lighting. And, you know, I visited with Chad a little bit and also Judy to give a little bit more direction. In the grant, there was 30 poles allocated for North Water Street at a price of $4,000 per fixture. So if you look at the design right here, this is basically what is on Shawano Street for a pole. That cost is $2,411 for the base, the pole, and the arm. The globe that is on there is $1,437, and then the actual globe that goes over the fixture is another $200. So that meets that $4,000 already. So if you guys are looking at flag holders, flower pot, brackets, and banners, I know we had banners in the past. I don't know if that's something you guys want to do in the future. You know, I see a lot of communities now doing banners for, you know, seniors with their picture on. So if that's something you guys think about in the future, you know, this would be the time to address that. And all those things are going to be an extra cost. So although your options are to do whatever you want, I just wanted to make you guys aware of the amount that's allocated in the grant, and that money is provided. But if you want to do anything over that, then that's going to be, it could be a really large number if you look at ornamental fixtures. I know some of the ornamental fixtures, if you like the shorter fixtures, you're talking about, you need twice as many. So you need 60 fixtures at that point. And then you need, each ornamental is more than what this fixture would be. And then you're not going to be allowed your banners. Probably flower brackets would be okay because that fixture is still short enough, but it would still allow you a bracket. But you're not going to have that ornamental globe. And then banners, flag poles would also be, you know, I don't know if you're going to fit all that on that shorter ornamental fixture. You could stagger lights, but then I just want to make you really aware of the cost, because at 60 poles at $8,000 a fixture, you're up to $480,000 in a really short time, and you only have $120,000 in this grant. So, you know, it's kind of narrowing your field on what kind of fixture you want. And I just had a conversation with Chad, you know, if you want to go with a different arm or a different globe style fixture, you know, I just would like a little bit of direction because I have to replace poles on Pearl Street. The Pearl Street bases, if you guys are aware at all, are rotten to the point where those need immediate attention. And I have to allocate, I have money allocated to fix those. And I want to buy fixtures similar to what is on Shawano Street, because the poles that are on Pearl Street, I have metal bases. And for me to fabricate a new pole is extremely expensive. And I'd like to meet the DOT requirements also of that breakaway base. So we're going to have to replace immediately probably 7 of those fixtures. And if you guys want to go a totally different direction, that's fine. I'll just purchase exactly what we have on Shawano Street so I can reuse those, you know, in a position where we are. We already have all the LED fixtures purchased. We purchased those with the LED program that we had. So that cost would not be incurred in this project either if you guys decide to go that direction. I just wanted to give you all this information. Nothing has to be decided, but I wanted you guys to be aware that, you know, the dollar amount can get really out of hand in a hurry. I know that everybody likes those ornamental lights and everything. And if you want them, that's, you know, I will put up anything you guys decide on. I just want you to be aware of the cost because it can get, you know, extremely large in a hurry. So. And, you know, obviously there's also a possibility of staggering if you wanted to do something, you know, really decorative and get less lights. You know, you could still go with a gooseneck and probably shave those numbers a little bit. But I mean, at $4,000 a fixture, I don't know what you're going to find. And I can do more digging. I tried to get some prices for ornamental lights to be comparable. And we're working on it. The salesmen just weren't that responsive to me to meet this meeting deadline. So, a lot of your input would be appreciated, and I'll go whatever direction you guys like.
When does the decision have to be made, Jason?
That's up to you guys. I mean, whenever we have plenty of time now before the project starts, but once you guys make that determination of what you want to go with, I mean, that's why we're having this conversation. We really don't have to make a decision in a year, but the sooner we can narrow it down, the better direction we have.
I'm just thinking, be nice, I've driven through a number of cities where they, like Shawano and so forth, where they've recently replaced poles.
Yep.
And might be, an idea just to get a better view of them. I'm going to go through town pretty fast and didn't take that close a look. But there were certain communities where I thought, oh, that was kind of neat. Yeah, I wish we had something like that in London.
Yep.
And maybe it'd be something that each of you would, as you're going traveling and so forth, pay a little more attention to features that are on some of those poles and so forth. So maybe at a future meeting, then we can.
Definitely.
If you have like brochures, anything?
Yep, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, if you guys can tell me, yeah, we want to go with this taller fixture and utilize those LED lights we have. And then you want to go with that ornamental light, that second fixture that's a little bit lower on the pole. I could look at just designs for that ornamental fixture and maybe a different type of a mast or a different look of a light. But if you guys want to go, the ornamental in the shorter fixture, then I would have to revisit just that. So I'm asking for a little bit of direction in which way I go, because there's so many options out there. And then we can look at the cost also. And if you want me to do both, I'll do that also. I mean, nothing's out of the realm.
If we would say, like Dave said, go through some town and tell us, say, we like the ones they got in Clintonville, or we
Yeah.
like the ones they got in Shawano. Would
Definitely.
you be able to talk to them and find out what it is? and then
100% I would.
Give us a price on them?
Yep.
Okay.
We have a certain amount allocated for lights, am I correct?
Yeah. In the grant, you're given $120,000 for North
You
Water
have to
Street.
use that strictly for
Yes,
lights?
I believe you do.
But that was part of the grant process. So there's certain, and the DOT has certain, this is STP urban grant. So they would give you a grant only for certain things. So I'm sure it's for the base lighting. It's not for the ornamental lighting. If we want to go that route, that's going to be above and beyond cost. The grant does not pay for the flagpoles. The grant will not pay for the hangers for the basket. That's all on us. That's why we didn't see that in the grant. So those will be costs above and beyond what the base cost is for lighting, which that's part of the DOT grant.
And then the cost allocation through the utilities, you can choose either way. It benefits the city more if they can pay the upfront cost, because otherwise, whatever you guys decide, if you go with the ornamental lights and it's 480,000 and you don't want to come up with that money, the utility will fund that portion, but it'll come back through your streetlight rates. So you'll see your monthly bill much higher then. That's kind of how those funds are allocated through the street lighting.
So you kind of talked about a hybrid of both lightings is there a possibility to put the tall ones in to help with the visual
Right.
and then the short ones in
Yep.
to kind of that might be I would be really interested. Do you know a community that has something like
I
that?
don't. I was just thinking of an alternative because I know if you go with the shorter light, you need twice as many.
Right.
So I was just trying to get creative and, hey, well, maybe we could still do an ornamental fixture, just not do every one. And then we wouldn't get that number so far out of hand. We could still do something really nice in the downtown. I mean, that's the focal point of the community. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, go with the same thing we've always had. It'd be really nice to have something that people aesthetically like to look at, and lights are one of those things. So, and that also has to be a consideration with whatever type of Christmas decoration you want to go with. So if you want to hang, a type of a Christmas decoration on that fixture as well, then you're going to be limited to that ornamental, whether it be a wreath or whatever. That all has to be considered also, because we'll have to put in an outlet at some point in those fixtures to accommodate that.
So
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Do you have any recommendations on what style, on anything, I should say?
As far as the fixtures themselves, I mean, the LED lights we have for downtown, the 250s, are extremely bright. Aesthetically, they're not as attractive because they direct the light straight down. So it's really to each individual what they like. I mean, if you want a visually nice looking light, we're definitely going to pay for it. And I'm not opposed to that. I'd like to see something a little bit different, but I also understand we're on a budget and we have costs. So that's what I wanted to reflect to you guys. I mean, we can do it, you can do anything, just that it comes with a price.
Chad?
And I think once we get, that's one of the things I wanted to have part of our visiting sessions, once we start talking to the downtown
Yep.
business owners, get their input. Not that we're gonna
Yep.
give them the final say or anything, but once we start having those visiting sessions of what they would like to see in the downtown, we can get that input and then bring it back and tailor it to what we can afford and what we can do.
Right.
But for what Jay's talking about right now, I would totally support him replacing what's down there, because they're not DOT compliant right now. We want to make sure everything is
Right.
compliant.
I mean,
We
they're
wanna repair them.
grandfathered in because they're an existing fixture. But if I replace them, I'm afraid I can't replace them with what's there. And I don't want to either with the corrosion that takes place on those bases. I'd like to see the breakaway bases. So
And then you could use those, if we do a different route, you can use those somewhere else.
correct.
Along this line, so.
If you guys want to look at a different fixture, then I would get the same thing that's on Shawano Street so I can use them somewhere else if I have to take them down when Pearl Street would be constructed. If you want to go, okay, we want ornamental and we want a different fixture. I mean, there's still some other, if you want the bigger, taller gooseneck fixture like this one, I could definitely look into a more of an aesthetic, LED ornamental fixture that hangs on it. It doesn't have to be the globe that's there. I just don't know where that cost lies. So I don't know how cost driven this is, or if you guys really want to allocate more money and go towards an ornamental fixture. And that's, like I said, I'll install whatever you guys want. I mean, we'll make it happen. That's not the issue. It's the money behind it. That's all.
Just so, how much is it to put like the flagpole holders on there? Because you said that's not even on this price.
Yeah,
so-
well, it's all custom to the fixture. So if you guys want flagpoles, then I would look into getting the price for that. But I kind of have to narrow down the fixture before I put the flag on it, because everything is a added on price to the fixture.
So do you know what it is on the standard fixture like we already have here?
I do not.
Okay.
Yep.
'Cause there's-
I
it's
don't
30,
think-
So everything's got to be multiplied by 30.
Right. That's why I wanted to make you guys aware of that. Because like the flower brackets, we made those. The banner brackets, we made those also. So those were custom fabricated. That was something we did ourselves as a utility. I remember fixing those banner brackets many times when the wind would pick up, because we just put a band around the pole and tightened it on and then slid the banners on with a zip tie to keep those in place. And then we took those banners down, those brackets, that's what we used for the flower pots. We refabricated those and shortened them to accommodate a flower pot.
Because what I visualize in my mind is like a, ornamental light, a gooseneck with a huge basket of flowers on it, sitting
Right.
back just a little bit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It would be visually.
Well, and I mean, it
appealing.
does look really nice when you guys put the flags out and you look downtown and it's lined with flags. So, I mean, if that's something you want, it'd be nice. Just if I have that direction, I can get you guys prices and, you can make a decision. Hey, we really like that.
I'm guessing we want flags.
Yep.
Anyone disagree with that?
And flower pots is probably another consideration. And then,
so
We
pretty.
want flower pots as well.
Love
and then
that.
now they have the spring loaded brackets for the banners. So if you want to do, there's more options with the taller fixture, obviously, to put things on it to make it aesthetic. So, that's not going to be an option on that shorter ornamental light, and it's going to be more expensive. So
And then maybe you wouldn't need as many. You'd just have
Definitely.
to-
if you have the taller fixture, you're going to be staying at the 30 poles. But if you go with the shorter fixture, you're going to increase that number just because the light doesn't dissipate the same way.
Very good. Any other questions? Tom?
Yeah, the deficiency between the grant and what they cost.
Mhm.
Is the utility gonna buy them and lease them to us, or are we gonna?
Oh, that was kind of
like
explained.
we're Bonding.
That was kind of explained through the rates. So whatever you guys spend, either you give the utility, you buy the fixture, so you would want to spend as much as you can to keep your monthly costs down. Because if we have to absorb the 480,000, the utilities will pay that, but then it'll be reflected in your electric bill for the street lighting for the month, the monthly bill, you'll pay on that. So we're going to get that amount no matter which way through the city. It's just which way you want to go with it. If you can't come up with the cost, like Judy said, and you want to pay forever, then that will be reflected in the rate. That's how it works.
And once we know if we get that second grant, when we apply for that grant, if we get that second grant, that's gonna help, you know, a lot more capacity, a lot more options, because we'll have
Right.
more funding options. with
When
that
do we
as
know
well.
that yet?
I think the next round is in 2022. So I think it's every 2 years for that grant application cycle.
And what's the plan on when you want to do these, Jay?
Well, this isn't until what, 2024?
Oh,
Correct,
so we
but
have
you need to,
plenty of time then.
you gotta replace some now.
Yeah, the ones on Pearl Street I
Street,
have
yeah.
to replace,
Yep.
and those I'll replace with fixtures from like Shawano Street here.
Okay.
So if I do have to take them out of service, I can utilize them somewhere else. That was all.
When do you think we should discuss this again?
It's up to you guys. I mean, honestly, I'm here for you. So, you know, give me a little bit of time. If you have a little bit of direction of what you want for pricing, then I can go that direction. You know, if you want flagpoles, like you said, flagpoles, flower baskets, I can get that number on this fixture. It's just the salesmen are very broad. There's so much out there. It's hard to get it together and give it to you. So I wanted to have a communication of where you guys wanted to go, and then I'll definitely go that direction.
I think we'll know more once we get into the process of this whole, with the engineers and
That's
stuff
what
like
I'm
that.
thinking, yeah.
Because like I said, I do want to have the input
Yep,
from the public as
downtown
well. So I
folks.
mean, that's going to be part of the whole
Yeah.
timeline for everything. As we
And
get
then
that
the
done.
other consideration, as long as we're on the topic, would be what you guys want to do with festivals in the future. I had a little bit of a conversation with Judy. You know, we have temporary power places now, and I would like to get away from the fixture having an outlet at the bottom, because the salt just, it's not a good thing. And plus, if you hook up any type of a food cart or anything, they all want a Nesco, and one outlet will not support a strip with 5 Nescos in it. So it's nice to have them, the designated area where we can put a 200 amp service and run anything that the festival wants. You know, we've done that many years here for the tent, for the Shamrock Club, and then we have one at the park, and then by Bolt's Bakery. So we have those. It would be nice to know, you know, a little bit of direction of what you want to do with the downtown for festivals, and then we can plan for those services, those temporary services. So when we need to access that electricity, you guys have it available. Just needs to be a thought in the process, because when we do the street lighting, it's going to be utilizing some of those circuits for the electric for that.
Good point.
So in the near future, do you have something that you can give us a little bit of direction on where we can look at these fixtures?
Yeah, I mean, I can get catalog, you know, present it to you guys at any time.
Is there anything via websites or anything that? maybe you
There's a
can email?
ton. I'm just utilizing the vendors that I
Yeah.
know of that we use. So I was reaching out to the salesman, and like I said, they were, you know, well, what kind of ornamental do you want? We don't really have, it's hard to get pricing.
Right.
They'll give you a million pictures, but it's, the difficult part is what's the price? Like even this fixture, you know, that's how they make their money. So they want to keep that number close to them. And, oh, you want a flag holder? Well, that's extra. So that's why I didn't have that number, because I have to directly ask the salesman, I want this pole with this on it. And then that's the number I want.
Right. And that's kind of what I understand too. And I just didn't know if these gentlemen would like to physically see something instead of,
Definitely.
traveling
Yep.
to other communities
Yep.
and when we're out in the public to
Yeah.
talk,
Yeah. And if
they
you-
say, hey, check out this website
Yep.
or, this,
Right.
whatever.
We were through De Pere. That looks really neat. I like their fixtures. I can easily contact De Pere and get that information. You know, in the communities are very forthcoming in that information. So that's not an issue at all.
Just to expand beyond your comment, Chad, what's the rough time frame do you see for getting the downtown folks involved in this?
We're right now setting up a meeting with the engineers and the DOT just to kind of have that initial conversation. I mean, it's still, 3 years off, let's see, 3
Mhm.
years off, 4 years off, whatever. But I would hope maybe next year we're starting that conversation, at least so the businesses know what's coming up, and so they're planning, because it's going to be disruptive for the downtown. I mean, there's no way around it. It's construction. It's going to be dusty and dirty and inconvenient. So I think we need to have those conversations sooner than later, so everybody's on the same page. And if there's things we got to do to accommodate them, if we can, sooner than later with that. But I know the first meeting we're having set up is with the DOT to talk about the project, because it's technically a DOT project because it's through their funding.
Chad also said sooner than later because of the disruption in their business, but I also think sooner than later for the fact that it is going to be a disruption in their business and they can plan for remodeling. You know, they don't plan on remodeling next year and then 2 years we shut them down again. That kind of concept.
Exactly.
Well, maybe, and I don't know, when would make sense to have Jason back to talk about this?
Mhm.
I think you almost have to have a committee that chooses these 3 poles and these 3 poles, and then you go to the downtown. Because otherwise they're gonna be like, oh, no, and you know, what is it supposed to, visually, they're gonna have to see something
Mhm.
and maybe put an X in it and make it real simple for them. So if you had a choice between these 6
Right.
items and this is what it looks like.
And that's what I was trying to
you
avoid
put
too.
an
I didn't
X.
want to drop a catalog off and have because everybody has their favorite. It's very difficult to narrow it down with a whole catalog. It gets overwhelming. There's just too many options.
Yeah.
Or they
the
won't do it
census
too. Yeah,
was flags and
And,
Flags and-
pots.
the flower pots and
Yep.
you kind of know a couple different structures. And if you can kind of
Mhm.
narrow that
Yep.
selection down a little
Sure.
bit and then we can get it narrowed a little bit more like Judy said.
Look at some ornamental fixtures on the pole, get a different, a couple different looks.
Mhm.
Maybe they have a fixture on both sides of the pole. I mean, just something to change it up and so it's not the exact same that we have. The other consideration would be banners, if you guys want to utilize banners for the community or not. Because I know that was well received at one time and
You can give us a broad spectrum and then we'll narrow down and we
Yep.
can narrow down a little bit more and keep whittling away at that.
definitely. It's just nice to have the conversation. So,
Yeah.
we're all on the same page. We can definitely move when we have to on this and make a decision. But the more information for you guys, I think the better. Because I would really just like to see, the downtown look really nice with some fixtures and we have that opportunity. So
Think maybe bring that back in December when
Makes sense.
2 months to start that process.
and I'll touch base with Chad and Judy and get their thoughts working through the process before I bring stuff to you guys and make sure you have some options. Definitely.
So I think a big question here too is just the process, we
Yeah.
talked already about.
Yep.
I think getting the downtown involved is a great thing. And particularly this gives them something to sink their teeth into and hopefully it'll be something they can get excited about, that kind of thing.
And there's that downtown
Most
committee
of our
too.
discussion with them will be more the negative,
Mhm.
where, well, for next 6 months, you won't have parking in front of your store or whatever, where your customer's going to park or how they're going to reach you, that
Yep.
type of thing. Whereas this is something, oh, great, the downtown's going to look so much better or could look
Mhm.
so much better depending on what you guys come up with.
Exactly.
So, okay, December sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Thanks much.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, approved new liquor licenses. Jackie, is that you?
Nope, I'm just here if you have any questions.
All
We
right,
have a new bar owner on there, so that's why I sent it to you
Okay.
folks. The police chief did vet them and approved
okay,
them.
that was the
So
question I had.
that's the barn that was closed down for a while. And these folks moved to town and they are planning on putting an art studio and some other kind of different uses upstairs when they get on their feet. So I think that'll be kind of nice considering the resurge of art in the community.
Mhm. Mhm. So the list that we had was, also contained a number of people like Scott Puffy and so forth.
Yep, just folks that didn't renew. One's a brand new one, just
Okay.
wants to, the one
Okay.
that says unknown for a business, just needs a job.
Okay.
And Jeannie Rose is a new bar, so they've got a little bit of a turnover now for bartenders that they're going through and finding ones that don't work and filling the spots back up again.
Okay. But again, these have all been approved, checked out by the.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, is there a motion to go ahead and approve?
So
this?
moved. Second.
Who made the motion? John and David, second. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, next, approve list of election officials, and then I guess that's you again, Jackie.
Okay, so as the memo states, these are new election workers that I've picked up. COVID has really put a kink in how many of our regular folks choose not to work right now, and no harm, no foul. I cannot be grumpy or anything like that. You can't pick them up and drag them in. These folks have all come forward and offered that they'd like to work. So I'm trying to make it so we have we want 7 at each polling place for the November election because it's going to be busy. And these were not on your last December list. So last December, you would have approved our regulars, so to speak, for the 2-year term. And the state is telling us that we should approve these every election. So this one's gonna be a biggie. I'm just making sure all the Ts are dotted
Okay.
and the Is are crossed as it. 'Cause
Mo-
that's what
Is there a
we do.
motion to approve the list?
One-
John,
one
so
move.
moves.
Yeah, Tim Robin, it should be Roberts. For print shop.
Shop.
Oh, is it Roberts?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, dang,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
But
I just talked
otherwise,
to him
yeah.
today and he never
Okay.
corrected me. My apologies. Okay. I'll fix
So-
that for council.
John makes a motion to approve it with that change. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And David seconds. Any further questions on the list? Not all in favor, say aye.
I,
Motion carried. All right, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next discussion on progress towards the closure of the Economic Development Fund. Judy, is that you?
Okay, so the Economic Development Fund, just do a little background on that. The state of Wisconsin, I think 2004, or something, some date of that nature, we received some funding from the state of Wisconsin to give out loans to small businesses. So we did a lot of loans into our downtown. And they've decided to pull that money back into the state. And in that process, they've allowed us as a community to take the current funding we have and utilize it in a nature of which they've listed for us or qualified for us. So Missy and I, one of the things we were looking at, I have a list of those projects. A lot of them are ADA accessible projects. So remodeling at Hatton Park in the bathroom, remodeling at Memorial Park and Pfeiffer Park. So a lot of ADA accessible meet the qualifications of allowing us to utilize these funds. The other part of this was back here, we're looking at Lyons, Lima, and Avon Street. So what Missy and I have been doing over the last couple weeks is going through a stack of paperwork like this, trying to figure out how we're supposed to get these surveys and letters and complying with the rules, or so that we could send those letters out. So last Friday, we did get those letters put together. And like I said, Missy's been helping me a lot through this process, but we did actually send them out last Friday. So in case you get a phone call from somebody, yes, that is us sending out. And it is an income survey. So first they're asking for income and second they're asking for ethnicity. So those are the 2 questions. I highlighted that it should only take them 2 minutes. We're super trying to hope that we're going to get these back and that it qualifies and it would leave us with about $195,000 to help with some road projects back there.
What
So
was the
if
second question, Judy?
So in that one, they don't have to answer if they don't want to, but they have to pick that they don't want to if they choose not to. So those are the only 2 questions on this survey. So I highlighted them. It should take you, less than 2 minutes to open it up, push it back in the envelope, and send it back to us. So if any of you get a call about that, please encourage them to get those envelopes back to us. You did. So I'm glad we talked about this.
This is the guy that really hates the wheel tax, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, answer the couple questions, and you get that for your street.
And we are actually thinking about possibly, and I'll talk about this next week as part of the budget, using some wheel tax to get all 3 roads done. So if they qualify, we might use some of that wheel tax that you've been feeding for to try to make ends meet and get everything done. We still have to look at that and we have to get the survey back.
my intent to come back with more information next month about this closure. And at that time, we're gonna talk about a loan that's out there, that we're gonna decide whether we're gonna collect that money and utilize it towards this, because it would increase it, or if we're not willing to take that risk. And we'll talk about that next month at that meeting. And in between, I'm going to be getting a hold of that business owner, talking about their payment schedule, and then just some other communication that I need to get done before that meeting. But we'll see how next month.
The percentage of the people out in that area that you need to turn surveys enhances the chance of getting them.
You are correct. Yep, the more people that return the surveys, although they did say, it is a pretty small percentage that they will actually utilize for those surveys, but I don't want to count on that. But, you know, sometimes it takes us one thing and then we got something done, and then it's it. And I did put a really short return timeline, only because you know what happens when you don't really have to do something, you get really kind of satisfied, yeah, okay, tomorrow, and that never comes. So I did say that I would like to return to us by this Friday, although, you know, I have another week or so, but we intend to, again, communicate with those persons that did not turn it in, maybe give them a personal phone call, something of that nature, to explain to them how important it is that they receive that information back in the mail, so we can move forward with that.
Well, we could put something out on that cable.
Targeted area. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna follow up with phone calls.
Yeah. And then you're gonna get why them and not me. I don't really want
Did you just say door to door? I was gonna mention the same thing.
Actually, that's why, yeah, it is one of the alternatives is to just, bring surveys with you. And walk up to the door, taking you for the house, literally will take 2 check marks and off you go. So we do have them all numbered. We have to make sure that we're getting them back in the number order. Because we don't tie the survey to a person. They don't even want to do that. So it's confidential, very confidential information.
How many residents would you be talking about?
I believe it was 60. We did receive, I think there's 10 there, so we found 50. I think there was 7. But I would expect even up until Monday, because it was such a short period, I'm gonna guess. We'll have to done on Friday next week.
Is that also, or is it
Yeah, and so if it's a renter in the household, it's the renter. So we went through all those questions with this day. Okay, so what if it's this? What if it's that? Just give somebody that, we have a parcel, and it's a basement or a storage area.
and it's anywhere right here?
No, it's just those residents of Lyons, Lima, and Avon Street. And they were specifically not in that survey. That's why I'm a little afraid to put it on social media, because you might get everybody in the other one, fill the survey out and help us out. It's that targeted specific area that they're going.
I know we had a couple of.
In that area, absolutely. We have to make sure their number comes. You will have to tell us who that person is, and then we'll put a number on it. And then we have to show the revenue and we'll do it. Yeah, if you're willing to do that, that'd be great. And then I can tell you who got that. Maybe they are requested. Yeah. There's a list of everybody in that neighborhood that has to It's trying to weed through all that paperwork to figure out what you really need, and what you don't need, and what's just kind of properly. Definitely. Like I said, until that closes, until we know what money, until we know what to use it, we continually talk about that. So, particularly after. Anybody has any questions, get residents who are confident, please have them check out. And ask them questions.
Is
there some timelines to it?
Correct. Yeah, because by January, we have to have this closed. So yes, we are banging at the door of closure. And you're both to vote it out as long as you can. Loan comes in as much as possible. So that's going to be a big decision next month, whether we want to go forward that. So we will have a motion next month on where we're going to go with that. I do have the financial data done. I just haven't sent it because we have to make that choice first. They do have that completed. To be sent to
So by February, we just have to say where we are going to spend, but not actually written out checks.
correct for 2 years. So we have enough, yep, we have enough time after we're approved to complete the project.
All right, any other questions for Judy on economic development? All right, next 27 pay periods.
All right, so salary individual, Jen's probably been doing that for 13 years, every 13 years about-ish. We have a 27 pay period. Normally, we're in a 26 pay period biannual, and this only affects salary individual. So what's going to happen is this is just that, just in case you're here, just in case an employee would say something. Last time we did this, we had one particular employee who was really upset with us about dividing their salary by 27 instead of 26. So they're going to see their paycheck going to drop a little bit. They're also going to receive 27 on the 26. So I just wanted you to kind of say, yep, that's how it is because there's an extra Friday. I did look at possibly paying everyone on Monday and make it 26, but then I'm going to see it for 3 weeks. So you're just going to fuck up the problem. So just so you know, in case anybody says any 27 pay period, we receive 3 paychecks right away in January. So pretty much you're being actually think through the process, but that way you guys are aware of it.
And they are aware of it.
Exactly. Well, as soon as we talk about it here tomorrow, they're going to get an email. November, they're going to get another email. I have this all set up in the system already. So today we talked about it. Yes, this is what we have to do tomorrow. They're going to get an email. They're going to get another one in November. And we don't question. They should understand that process.
Their paycheck drops.
Correct.
It's lower next month.
But over the entire year, they will see the same salary.
All right, any other questions for Judy? All right, finance director's reports. Judy.
Okay, so the first one we have to go over is the revenue report, and I'm super excited to tell you that in here, under grants and donations, sorry. Be very. If you look under grants and donations here, we have $129,000 sitting in there. We received our Roots to Recovery grant. So we received $121,000. It was the maximum amount of dollars that we could receive. So I for that along with the chief of police. Cross my fingers because then they kept sending emails about, okay, the next submission period is open, and I kept saying to them, well, I don't know if I got the money yet, so I don't know what to do. I didn't know if I should submit, I shouldn't submit. I didn't want to go through all that work. I didn't have to, obviously. But then all of a sudden there it was. I actually screamed. So we did get the money. It was dropped into our local government investment pool account. So $121,000 is really going to help us this year as we go into our 2021 budget and we get a sneak peek at that. We're going to utilize these funds this year. So we're going to push these right forward. I think we're going to be okay within this budget. We're not going to use them to, and I don't think we should use them for that anyway. If there's something within this budget, I think we should use them to sign fund balance, and then let that be absorbed within this current year and utilize this funding that we did not anticipate for capital. And you'll that'll present it out on Thursday. Otherwise, we Highway is paid quarterly, just, our tax equivalent, two great things came into my office this past month, too, as I was working through the 2021 budget. Our tax equivalents from the utility are up. We're gonna see that next year, and we're gonna see that this year too. So what I budgeted and what we're gonna get is up about $20,000 in tax equivalent. The other thing that went up, and I actually called the state, next year we're gonna receive $30,000 more in state shared revenue. And they also revised our current state shared revenue and added $30,000 to it. And I literally had a phone with the state because I was unsure that was really ours. How did this happen? So what happened was our ATC put a new fencing around their complex up on Warner Allen, and that infrastructure had enough value that it increased that payment to us in the year up $30,000 now. But keep in mind, as infrastructure depreciates, that number's going to go down. So even though we have it here today, every year, if they don't add value to that infrastructure, it's going to go down. But that was a great thing to see from the government. I didn't think it was real. I got them on the phone, and then I got an email that yes, that was an increase in the utility payment and your shared revenue. Not skeptical at all, am I? Otherwise, I think we're actually doing quite well, even with the COVID-19. I think a lot of what's being affected by COVID-19 is hopefully on the expenditure side also being absorbed. So we had less people working because there was less programs. So as we go through the year here, hopefully we'll see the revenues and expenditures kind of offsetting each other. And that's it I have for the revenue side. Anybody have any questions? When we go to the expense side, I figure we should be at about 66%, and we're at 66%, even with some items that are higher than normal. The biggest ones being our city administrator account and our legal consultations. Those are way higher than we had budgeted for. So you're seeing that general government is up at 81%. We'll just see how that all plays out. That is the one I'm talking about. If we end up higher than normal on this unassigned or on this side, we'll probably be utilizing unassigned fund balance to make the ends meet. Otherwise, insurance will come back down. I haven't billed the utilities yet. I'm still waiting for my property tax bill. Our property insurance bill, I should say, MPIC, which is odd because I've never had to beg for their bill before, but I can't bill the utilities until I get that payment or that actual invoice. I have the declaration page, so I know we're insured, but they haven't billed me. And this is like the third time I've asked them for, we're not going to get it to you. It's like, okay. So once I get that done, then you'll see that insurance number will come back down to more normal budgeted number. I don't anticipate that to be over at all. I think that's about it on that. Anybody have any questions on any other expense item? I think otherwise we're looking pretty good here also. I didn't, and then we're on assigned and unassigned fund balance. And the only changes I did last month with cable TV, so we had that expense. And then economic development, I did utilize the programs from Chad's memo, so those came straight out of there. But otherwise, I don't think there was no other changes on any of these line items. Anyone have any questions on any assigned or unassigned fund balance? Okay. Then the wheel tax. We're actually at about 78,000. The High Street and Industrial Loop Crossing, I think they're working on, so we'll probably see those
increase over the next couple months really quickly here. So, and then next month again, or next week with, when I present budget, I'll be going through anticipated projects for the wheel tax moving forward.
How exactly is the wheel tax, do we get the wheel tax money? Do we get it monthly, yearly?
Yep, so it's monthly, so this is actually only through July.
Okay,
So actually it is through August, that's correct. But we receive it, so this month you get it the next month. So in August you get July's. And it comes from the state. So it's actually sent to the state and then they send us the check back because they get the rest of the dollars that are for that registration.
Okay.
Which is nice that they're administrating.
yeah,
and not
that's
us.
one less thing you have to do.
Yeah, saves us a bunch of time. Any questions on that, on the wheel tax? If you looked at the audit this year too, you would have noticed that wheel tax is its own line item because we've had some real problems in the past about people saying that we've been using this for other things. So that one was picked out in the audit this year and had its own line item. Just in case anybody ever asked, I know it was something we wanted to do moving forward. And then the wastewater treatment plant, they're still working on that painting, so this may be a while too. And then I'll talk about this bonding also next Thursday, where we anticipate to be at the end of the day, and then projects moving forward for the wastewater treatment plant also. So all those things are being worked on right now, and I'll be presenting a lot of that on Thursday night of next week. So next week, Thursday is our budget hearing, and I need everybody to show up so that we can go through our budget process. And that's just the details of that. And I think that's it for that. Any questions on any expenditures, revenues, unassigned fund balance?
When you were talking about the street lighting, what about that deficiency between the grant? Are we gonna have to bond for it or the utilities gonna bond for it?
What happens, Tom, is if you are looking at dollars and cents wise, we want to pay for those lights up front and we would be bonding for the difference. We can have the utilities pay for us, but then you never stop
You never own
paying for.
them. Rent
So
them for you.
you rent forever.
Right.
So it's not like all of a sudden they're going to drop that dollar amount off your electric bill. It's a forever payment. So as much as we can, we should be looking at paying for those fixtures when they go up. So I think it'll be exciting to pick those out. But
Not so excited to pay for them.
no.
That's the rough part.
That's with everything.
They go to the grocery store, that's they get to the.
It's a little more than the groceries.
I know, but yes, we can make a choice whether to pay for them up front or to pay for them forever. So I
Okay.
prefer to pay for them up front, but when things get tight, you don't know what those choices are going to be at the end of the day. And we will be talking through all of that as we go through the next 3 years.
But if we pay for them up front, they're gonna pay an interest because we got a bottle.
Yes.
Right.
We
Well,
will.
You don't get it free either way.
Nothing's free.
Okay, any other questions for Judy on the finance director's reports? If not, your report, Judy.
Anybody have any questions? I continue to work, especially last month, on a lot of budget stuff. A lot of meeting with department heads, talking about budgets. Making sure I'm thinking about the expenditure restraints, staying within levy limits, watching for highway aids, all those kind of things, watching the lead for any changes. So I spend a lot of time in September working on budget, thinking through that process. Missy and I work on the economic development. Missy and I from the utility worked a lot of hours on bonding that's coming up. So once we decide we're gonna bond, there's a package
paperwork, a stack of paperwork about this eye that, we have to put financial data together, for that bonding, and it has to be done as quickly as we can. So her and I work through that process, make sure we're asking people, if that's your part, like I have to know, building permits, how many, and all this kind of information, and to gather that and get that to them as quickly as possible, because as you know, once you decide, you only have 30 days, and all of that paperwork has to be done in a timely manner, so I spend a lot of time doing that. The TIP guidelines, Chad, Dave, and Mayor and I met. About the FEMA, payroll. Took a couple SIDMA classes in between there too. Took an employment law class, or sat through a webinar at my desk, I should say. Health insurance. Health insurance came through as a 20% increase. So I'm still working through that. We actually had one company that wouldn't even give us a quote because we're getting older. That's not me. So they won't even quote us. We're still waiting for Wisconsin Counties Association and one other quote, if they even quote us. And then I'll talk about this as part of the budget too, but we all know that we can't afford 20%. So in the budget itself is a flat increase for health insurance. So I took last year's rate and we just moved forward with that. And then we're gonna meet together as a team, all department heads, and we're gonna decide where we're going. What is our health insurance gonna look like, and how we're gonna make ends meet, and how we're gonna stay at the budget that we all put together. So that's where we're gonna go with that. Oh, and then Luann from Associated Financial is gonna come and talk to you guys next month about trends in health insurance, and you guys can meet her and talk about health insurance and tell you move the place if you want to. Talk about, you know, our rate study and all those kind of things. But I think with the change of people, that it was a good time for her to come in and just visit with you guys.
Do you communicate with any of the attorneys trying to get proposals from her, or just that person associated?
She does that for us.
I'm gonna say everybody's name's investor. Let me see. They should do something, I should get that out.
Yep, so we're still waiting for that one. That cool. So we haven't decided on anything yet.
I know.
So we're waiting for a number of quotes yet. But I can tell you our renewal with their current carrier, or We Trust, was at 20%.
Okay, any questions for Judy?
Question, but if you guys notice it in the staff notes, I want to congratulate Judy for being elected to the board of directors and point that out for Civnic. That's our insurance carrier, which is really good to have a local representation on the board of directors. So congratulations, Judy. I want to point that out. It's very good to have that relationship with Civnic. We love Civnic. So.
Chad, what is it?
I appreciate that. Thank you,
Civnic?
Chad.
It's the insurance group we went for.
Yes, Civnic, which is cities, villages, mutual insurance company.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's and Judy's been on
Beautiful.
like for board of directors. So
I actually looked for you on there today.
It's an election process, so yeah,
I'm on the board.
very nice.
Underwriting and Investment Committee for WC.
Probably a lot of the similar duties.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a 2-year term.
Good.
So I'd like to sit on there a little while, not forever. I think it's a good thing to have turnover in, you know, that insurance
Sure.
world too. So, but I'd like to, it depends. It's an elected position, so we'll see
Beautiful.
how things pan out. But I
Congratulations.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Good for the city.
Thank you for allowing me to serve. I appreciate it.
Good, good. All right, questions and answers? Anybody have any other thing? Bring up questions?
When will we adjourn?
If not,
I moved to
Tom?
adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
John seconds. All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.